everyone, and here's our devotional for Thursday, June 4th, 2020. Reason not to fear, 156, we remember God's goodness. But he made his own people go forth like sheep and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. And he led them on safely so that they did not fear, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. Psalm 78, 52, and 53. We can learn many lessons from our past experiences. In Psalm 78, David recalls the redemption of the nation and of Israel from the Egyptians. He remembers their history and God's faithfulness. It was God who brought the Israelites out of bondage and into blessings. This whole psalm seems to seesaw back and forth with remembering what Israel did to God and what God did for Israel. Over and over, the Israelites were reminded of God's mercies. Remember means to keep in mind. Each of us who have walked with the Lord a number of years should commit to memory his compassion, kindness, and unselfishness. Do not forget the times God kept and protected you. Share with your children, grandchildren, and friends those precious memories. I remember how the Lord once provided an unexpected vacation for us in Amsterdam. The Billy Graham Association invited Bob to come to their conference, but I wrote back and said that Bob could not go because he would not like leaving his wife behind. A few days later, the Billy Graham Association called our home and invited both of us to attend the conference, all expenses paid. I love remembering that story. In recounting the history of Israel, the psalmist brings back to memory the awesome acts of God in delivering the nation of Israel from Egypt with a strong arm and mighty deeds. This event, the Exodus and the defeat of Pharaoh's army in the Red Sea, was such an amazing miracle of deliverance that for years afterward, even the heathen nations in the area referred to it. It is good to remember how God has helped us in times past. As you look back on your life, you can praise God anew for his help, mercy, and love in your life. Share these stories with your children and grandchildren. Remind them that if God can do it in the past, he is able to do it now. You'll be surprised at how encouraged you will be as you keep walking this road in faith. These reminders will keep your eyes on the goal, your heart steadfast, and your hope alive. Praise God. Isn't that awesome? I want to point out something because there's times in the Bible, and this is not a contradiction. Let me try to explain what was being said there. There are times in the Bible that says, forget not the former things and move on to what's ahead. When it says that, it doesn't mean forget what God did for you. What it means is forget, because sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes don't we just kind of let our past hinder us from moving forward to maybe what God has for us? I'm all the time reading books with that in mind, that concept in mind. And people decide to choose to step out in faith, even despite what their past was like. So when we remember not the former things, we're remembering not the things that tried to hinder us from a future in God's calling. The things we need to remember are the things that God did for us. Yeah, we do. We need to remember how low we were back when the Lord lifted us out, in order to remember how awesome God really is and his awesome power. I'm going to go ahead and do it because why not? Those of you who want to reach the end of this devotional, you can go ahead and stop it now. The rest of you crazy people who like to listen to me ramble, here we go. Some of you know this, most of you don't. Uh-oh. Every time I shut this lid, it decides to stop. Okay, come on. Okay, all right. So a lot of people think that I've just always been a Christian. Well, because I knew how to ride the fence. I mean, around my Christian peers and family members, well, I was wanting to be a Christian. I always believed in Jesus, but I didn't live for him. I always knew about Jesus, but I didn't know about Jesus. So let's go back to that time for a minute. And I remember this because I remember what God did for me, okay? All right. So back in 1993, I was bored one day. I was bored a lot back then. Now I don't know what that word means anymore. I don't know what it means to be bored, even with this coronavirus going on. And I was bored, and I was just sitting there, and I wrote this poem. Now this is just to show you how bad it really got. And granted, I know people who have gone through much worse, but this is how bad it got for me. I'm going to try to recite this poem for you. It's called Bump on a Log. I'm just sitting here in this chair, Just wondering if anybody cares. Feeling lower than a dog, just sitting here like a bump on a log. There was a log out in my backyard. Finding me there wasn't hard. Me and my mom would go there and sit and talk and never quit. I guess God was trying to tell me then what kind of work I would end up in. What will I have accomplished when my life is done? I ask myself, what will I become? Will I be famous? Will I be rich? Will I end up dead in a ditch? Lord, would you please clear up this fog? Well, I guess I was born to be a bump on a log. That's where I was. But when I accepted Jesus for real, when I really gave him my life and my heart on November 3rd of 94, he gave me a purpose. You know what? Even if I don't know what that purpose is, I still have one. I know that I have one. I wasn't just dropped on this earth to just fester and mold or whatever. You know what? I'm here because God put me here. God made me for a purpose. He made me the way that I am, even if I don't like me most of the time. He made me for a purpose. He made you for a purpose. Like I said last week, ask him. Ask him what it is that he wants you to do, because it might take some time, but if you continue to seek him and read his word and talk to him, he will show you. He really will. So praise God for that. And sorry for all the rambling. I'm going to shut up now and go on to tomorrow. So may the Lord bless you all and be with you till tomorrow.